this is setting that public hearing. We recommend that the public hearing be set for your December meeting, which is December 13th, 2017. And this also authorizes or directs staff to file a mail notice and a published notice, which will also review separately after we have Point Sienna West take their direction. So unless there's any discussion on the December hearing date, again, we would recommend that that just be at your regular meeting since you're already planning to hold it. A motion to approve would be appropriate.
Okay,
Joe, so are you gonna have discussion about?
no, just motion for 2018-03.
Dick Kellogg, so moved for resolution 2018-03.
Skip Salvini, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
4-1. Okay, motion carried.
For the Point Sienna West Board, you heard the description by the attorney on resolution 2018-02. May I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, being none, motion carried. And under E2, we would have the same description of this resolution by our attorney. And under resolution 2018-03, do I have a motion to approve that?
Bill Brown, move to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, being none, motion carried.
Okay, next item on the agenda is approval of the forms of mailed and published assessment notices.
And I can address this as well, Mr. Chairman. As I just discussed in the previous resolutions, those resolutions directed district staff to mail a mail notice and publish a published notice notifying residents about the public hearing. We've included copies of those notices in your agenda package for the board's review and approval.
Could we possibly put in something in less legalese in there, just a synopsis that doesn't, cause so much confusion? Besides just the legal requirements, just something that highlights, it says this generally means this, and that.
Do you have anything specific? And I understand it is
No,
quite
the last time we had so many comments.
No, I understand. The issue that we run into on the legal side is that the statute prescribes specific information that has to be included and has to be
I
included in a
understand that,
certain
but can
way.
we do something additional, like a brief explanation? Generally what it means, without all the legalese.
Do you like a summary of what the assessment, I guess I'm just asking for clarification as to what you want a summary of.
Well, the intent of the document, when it's spelling out exactly, instead
And
of-
why we're sending it, because
Yes.
it's required by law, things
Right.
like that. We can work that
Thank you.
into the form.
I think you're also saying, though, that most people are not gonna read a 3-page document at a time. They
Understood.
like the abridged version.
But also the chart on page 2, you're giving the lower number, the 946.91, and then saying it's exclusive of fees and costs of collection or enforcement. So that's not giving the residents the same number that they're gonna see on their tax bill. I think we need to somehow clarify those two numbers. And I think all the residents are gonna say, we got a 946.91, and that's not what we're seeing. And we're gonna end up with many complaints.
That's if they take advantage of the 4%, and if they don't take advantage of it, there's a different number.
Well, 4% out of 1,000 feet.
Yeah, I know, it's
is a lot, but it's
946.
978.
Yeah, I agree
No, it's
with you.
978, 4% is 978.
I agree.
Yeah, the recommendation, and Lita made this recommendation to me yesterday or the day before, is just to have the maximum number that people may see on the tax bill if they don't take advantage of any of the discounts and everything, and we'll fold that into, I think that there's some statements under the chart in terms of it being a net number and what that means, and so we'll make that revision.
Okay, so this motion here, for approval, is just for the form.
It's for the forms that are included. We can get them from both districts. Obviously, we'll work in the comments that have been discussed at the board level today.
Okay, when will we see the final notice? We're going to make changes to it, right?
I can send out a copy to the board for their review prior to it being sent out to the residents if you'd like. I
I think
can
that
do
would
that.
be,
Yes.
that would be good, right? Okay. All right, so you need approval of the form with modifications as noted.
Exactly.
Callan, so moved.
Osborne, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, once again, West, you heard the description of the forms by the attorney. Could I have a motion to approve that with revisions?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay, next item on the agenda is consideration of matters related to bond validation.
I'm going to address this as well, Mr. Chairman. In going back and looking at all the documents that we adopted relative to what we'll call the first validation, we took a look at the bond validation resolution. You'll remember Mr. Gang has been here previously, your bond counsel. He provided a resolution to you in your agenda package, which essentially authorized staff to file the bond validation, pursue validation. That resolution in an exhibit referenced the purchase and sale amount of the 73.7 amount, which obviously, as we've discussed several times, has been now revised and negotiated downward to the the $72.9 million number. So what we're going to do is almost similar to the assessment resolutions. We need to rescind that prior bond resolution and adopt a new one with that corrected number. Keep in mind, just like the assessments, this is really just an authorization resolution. It's not obligating you to issue bonds. It's really just authorizing staff to file the validation complaint for what would be the second validation and to pursue those matters on your behalf. So the first item that we would take up would be that resolution rescinding the prior bond validation resolution.
The appeals that have been made on bond validation, have they affect this in any way?
I'm sorry, can you repeat
The
that?
appeal that has been made on bond validation appeal.
It doesn't affect us because we're not appealing.
No, we're not, but there is an appeal.
Exactly, but we're not trying to pursue validation under that first validation. We are moving forward with the revised assessment methodology per your direction earlier.
So we're going to have two legal cases, two bond validation cases going at the same time?
This is a different bond validation case.
Now I'm confused.
You have a prior bond validation case, which was based on a methodology and a purchase price that you have changed here today. And no, it was the validation amount would still be 92. We changed the amount of the bonds, but the purchase price was reduced by $800,000, as well as the fact that we've changed the methodology to get rid of all the wrap structure, get rid of all the things that were designed to be as efficient as we could. And so it is a very different bond validation case. And we are not the ones that have instituted an appeal. We have taken the judge's wisdom under advisement, changed what we're doing, and so this is a separate, in my mind, separate and distinct bond validation proceeding for different bonds with a different methodology. And so we would recommend that you approve it so that we can actually get started on this process, because again, we'd like to be in a position that we get done what we need to get done, and then once the class action is resolved, we can move quickly if that's still the will of the board.
So Mike, what you're saying is we're basically like starting over in the sense that we're doing a new bond validation.
That's correct, because that's, in fact, was the choice that you made when we decided not to appeal and when we decided not to terminate the transaction. The other choice was to redo the assessments and go back and do a new bond validation case.
So when you do a new bond validation, you don't know what judge you're going to get, I assume?
We do not know the answer to that question. Certainly, it would be the judicial economy if, in fact, you had the same judge who understood the issues that were going on hear the case, but that's up to the courts. That's not something we have to say.
Theoretically, it could be a different judge who may interpret the other four items differently than the first one.
I prefer not to get into that.
Okay, no, I'm just, asking the question. I hear you.
And this resolution is also rescinding 201702 at the $102 million.
The bond validation number has not changed. It's the acquisition price
Gotcha.
in an exhibit that has changed, that's correct.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve resolution 2018-04 rescinding resolution 2017-02.
Dick Kellogg, so moved.
Second, Skip Stelzner.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next item on our agenda here is a consideration of resolution 2018-05, authorizing bond validation. And I think Lindsay just,
And again, it's the same resolution you
Right.
previously adopted. The only change is that in the exhibit it references the now correct acquisition amount.
okay. I have a motion to approve resolution 2018-05.
Dave Lane, so moved.
Dick Kellogg, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
4-1. Motion carried. Okay, next item on the agenda is a consideration for proposals for survey services. Mr. Walter?
This has been a very interesting exercise, Board.
Okay.
I've been looking forward to this conversation.
So,
I basically prepared a general scope that said, just to give you some frame of reference on how I went about this, that described the community, described basically a three-meeting scenario where the agent that was doing the survey would meet with staff and get a general rundown of the facts related to the matter. They would then come to the board, have a conversation about their understanding of those facts, try to get from the board what questions that they really want answered, and have some questions framed. Included in that conversation would be their method of conducting the survey. With board's concurrence or do some feedback in that process, then they would come back with, here's what it's going to be, and, kind of final questionnaire process, then go and perform the work and provide a written report to the board. So that was the scope of work that we went out and discussed with the survey firms. I went to two local firms, Clearview Research and Schlesinger Research, and had a conversation with them. They were not interested in doing this type of work. They had serious concerns about doing all of the survey work and survey effort in the sunshine, and gave some direction saying that, if you weren't real concerned about being statistically significant with all, and being within all of the sunshine provisions, then you'd be probably coming in around $50,000 to do a service about like what we're talking about, ballpark number. Then I also went to the Gallup poll and had the same conversation, scope of work conversation with them. They came in at $250,000 to be significant, or statistically significant, and be able to satisfy the sunshine provisions. I got a very interesting recommendation in this conversation to go talk with Stephen Seifert. Stephen Seifert is a very well-respected local government expert. I've worked with him before on the Central Florida Water Initiative, where there was a lot of angst between local governments and coming to decision, and had a conversation with him, and he had a very interesting perspective on it. And he said that, one of the things that the board could consider, because getting a truly statistically significant response from the public, having all of the right questions and all of those things, is a real challenge and is a significant expense. And at the end of the day, the board still has to make the decision. Again, as a local government expert, I was looking for his counsel, and his suggestion was, well, one of the things that you should think about would be to bring in a mediator to have the conversation with the board to see if a consensus could be drawn. So basically what I've got to come back with you with is, you can consider a mediator, consider about a $50,000 price tag for the type of survey that was outlined in this agreement. I don't have a vendor yet that is willing to do it for that price, or the 250,000, have it done by somebody like Gallo. That would be both statistically significant and sunshine valid. And so with that, I'm looking for board direction on how you would like me to proceed.
You know, I had second thoughts after I agreed to that survey, and I got an email, I think a lot of the other board members gave us an email, about somebody saying, why are we going through this again? Whether you were elected or appointed to this position, you're the one that has to make the decision. You know, live up to your obligations and do it. And I think it was a wake-up call to me. So I don't think the survey would provide anything, because I think the people, just like the appeal, if you lose, you're going to appeal. I don't think the survey is going to give us any direction. I think I've got some direction from the people I talk to in the streets and everything around Solivita. I think, in my opinion, most people are for the deal. But I know that's only my opinion, but I think I'm against going with a survey now.
I would agree with you, Bill.
Thank
I'm
you.
not in favor of the survey.
I'm not in favor of the survey.
Nor am I. I think and I think it's important to note that the end result of any kind of survey is going to be one thing. People want to buy the amenities, and people don't want to spend the money they want to spend on it. That's going to be the bottom line.
I also, Mr. Brown put that very well, I believe, and frankly, we've been at this for 2 years. 2 years. We voted 10 times on this thing as a board, and I might point out unanimously. Okay, to approve this.
Even the people
So
that-
clearly, I am not in favor of any, proposals to do surveys at this point.
And Supervisor Case, even the people that have filed a lawsuit are saying that they are in favor of purchasing the amenities. They're just not in favor of the price. So the general consensus is everybody, not everybody, but a majority of the Solivita residents are in favor
Well
of
put.
us getting the amenities.
Well put, Dave.
So it's a moot point to go out and get a survey, because we already know the results.
Nice try, though.
So do we have to vote on this to not do
Well,
the
I think he
survey?
was just looking for direction, so from a point of view
No,
of the CDD.
there's no proposal before the board, there's nothing really to vote on.
No, but for direction, I'm just asking, what do we want to just shell this or what?
If I could just comment, I got emails also, and I talked to a lot of people, and the thing that they hit me right between the eyes is, I was elected to this position to make decisions on behalf of the residents. By doing anything other than that, I am shirking my responsibilities. So I think at this point, I want to make that decision based on what I think is best, because that's what I was elected to do. If you disagree with what I do, that is your prerogative. But I will achieve my goal of doing what the people have elected me to do. And I will make the decision. Thank you.
Sounds like you have your direction.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Cease and desist. Okay.
We had gone in surveys to start this off. We've had numbers of them, the numbers change, the numbers come back, the numbers change, and then when the money has to come out, oh, that's too much money. I don't want that now. I personally do not want a survey. And I think that is my feeling.
We just write it down.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda then, supervisor comments.
I'll start at this end, I guess. Most of us chose Solivita to spend our, quote, golden years. I'd just like to remind everybody that it's a finite number. It doesn't just go on and on. If you're, as you are, just it.
Thanks for reminding me.
If you're lucky, we have 20 years, maybe. Like we said, we've been doing this for 2 years. It's 10%. What's the value of your life, your time, and everything? I still say I should be visualizing block going up across the streets here. I know a lot of you people feel that we're doing a disservice to you, but I feel, quite frankly, I've said this before, that you're doing a disservice by this delay. I can't say enough that if we went forward with this, we'd all reap the same benefits. You talk about no delay, it's just been one delay after another. And even the class action suit, if it wound up good, and if we got the amenities for free, maybe it would be great, but it might be 5-7 years from now. So right now, we all budgeted this into our lifestyle, and it's going to stay within your budget, so I don't see any problem. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I want to make a comment. I want to make a statement. I've said many times to others on other boards that I've been on, retired people have too much time on their hands. Being accused of collusion, having my emails scrutinized, and required to give testimony under oath is beyond the pale. Frankly, it's insulting to have to sit here and listen to some of this drivel that I've listened to for almost 2 years. I live here too. In fact, I've been here 15 years in December. And I will not do anything that will hurt this or damage this community. I live here, and I plan to stay here. The only collusion here is a small bunch of malcontents who either have too much time on their hands, or think they know better, or expect a big payoff if they prevail. I feel that each of us, in our own way, have been working to bring this to a reason, I'm talking about the board, a reasonable conclusion. If in the final analysis I feel we're being shortchanged, I'll be the first one to say no. We're not finished yet, folks. We're not finished. The minority who think the sky is falling have been spreading rumors and lots of misinformation in this community. They've elicited donations and engaged a law firm. Now I understand there are at least 3 law firms involved. You have to ask yourself why. The consequence is that the CDD was sued. The judge agreed with 4 of the 5 requirements in order to issue the bonds, but we still can't issue them. Because guess what? These people who wanted this community, they wanted the best deal for this community, are now appealing it. Anticipating this outcome, this minority group has appealed the case to the state Supreme Court. That appeal could take 2 years, could take months to 2 years. I said it before, they have a tiger by the tail. What are they going to do? Try to hold this project up for years? Some of you will die in the meantime, unfortunately. Some of you will never benefit from it if it's ever executed. In the meantime, you are casting doubt on this community in the marketplace. Placing articles in the paper, in the bond magazine, is not helpful. People read those things. People believe those things. You cast dispersions on a fine community and could eventually hurt us in the marketplace. I understand that there are now several firms involved in this appeal. I have to ask yourself why. This is about money, folks. Could this be a shakedown? Are these people going to get a big payday? I'm sure no matter what the outcome is, this group will say that they made a difference, and you should vote for them in the next fall to fill the vacancy. The vacancies that will exist. Be careful what you wish for. And finally, there's an old saying that goes something like this: everything will be all right in the end. And if it is not all right, it is not yet the end. We have a ways to go with Avatar. We're not there yet, okay? But I'm sure these people will take credit for anything that we accomplish or don't accomplish. I will do what I think is right for this community and the majority of the residents. Thank you.
Are there any other supervisor comments? I just have one. I guess during the previous audience comments, there was insinuation that I am not performing my fiduciary responsibilities. And I take affront to that. And I object to it, and I am very offended. That's my comment. Are there any other comments? Okay. There being none, we'll move on to the next item, which is audience comments.
Paul Byrne. My question, I guess, is really directed at Mr. Shula.
Speak a little loud, please.
How is the equalization of the assessments going to be handled? Is that a cash payment? Yes. It is a cash payment, so therefore it's taxable.
Cash payment cost to the district.
Oh, so you're buying down the lien on their house? Is that still considered a taxable event? For the resident, that's, it's not. Okay, thank you.
I have a question along the same lines.
What's your name?
Well, I just want to make sure here, members of the board, this is public comments, not questions, and it's public comments directed to the board. If people want to have private conversations with the developer and the developer wants to do that, they can do that, but this is really not the appropriate forum for a question and answer session of Mr. Shulall.
My name is Hank Barron. I'm a 15-year resident here. My question is directed to Mr. Eckert. Under the discussion, I think it was 7, about the assessments in the buy-down, which is what Paul just referred to on this taxability question. My question is this. He can't hear you. You have to speak up louder or something.
Hold the mic like a...
Can you hear me better now? Okay, I'm sorry, it's too far away. Mr. Eckert, you stated that this buy-down would be a cash disbursement or adjusted and would not be available to be voted on or discussed by the board. I'm suspect of that because a buy-down may not include all factors, such as the impairment that we have suffered for 15 or 10 years from maybe the lack of the deficiency in the funds, meaning from bathrooms not being cleaned to equipment not functioning in the gyms or being omitted, to such an issue as perhaps compounding interest on that money that is owed. So I think to totally reject that from discussion from the board and consideration is wrong, and it should be available to them and to us to have some input on that. Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Robinson Morales, and I live at 113 on Malfi Lane, in the Philadelphia
Put
section.
the microphone closer to your mouth.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
My name is Robinson Morales. I live at 113 on Malfi Lane in the Philadelphia subdivision. We have a terrible, terrible condition of midges or blind mosquitoes. I show you what I picked up from my garage floor. I cannot use my front door. I cannot use the lanai. I cannot even leave my car windows open because I go in there and I swallow midges. Last meeting you had, I believe this gentleman here said that the agricultural department was going to come out to investigate. Was that done, sir? And the outcome is?
We got a report from them. This really isn't getting question and answer. So,
how do I know what they said?
That'll be a public record if you got a report from him. So what I would suggest is after the meeting, give him your contact information. He can send you that report. That is a public record that Chuck can provide.
Well, he already had that, but I was surprised to get it. Okay, I'll provide my information to him again.
Yeah, if you can
Okay,
do
no
that.
problem. No problem, sir. I went on my own, I contacted the Polk County Mosquito Control Board. I spoke to a Mr. Carl O'Heen, project manager. He is coming to my home tomorrow at 08:30 hours. I invite every one of you to come to my home tomorrow so you can see the condition I live in. I asked you if the The water fountain was working, that was just, and you said, no, it doesn't have, to my knowledge, it doesn't work. Well, sir, I'll tell you what, spraying is not working. Let's try the water fountain. Let's try something. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if the board is aware, I recommend that not more than one board member go to his house with them, and perhaps maybe somebody from a management company. So I'm sorry, sir, I just want to make the board aware that you had requested that all of them come to your house, and I'm just saying, only one or somebody from the management company, if that were possible.
My invitation goes to any.
Well, no, I appreciate that. I just want to make sure that I remember.
I believe Russ spoke with Robinson earlier, and I think Russ is going to meet you there tomorrow, correct?
I just want to make a comment. You held your questions for this meeting so that both boards could hear your comments, okay? And this has been an ongoing problem for quite a while, no doubt about it. And I think our attorney made a very good suggestion about getting the representative from the state agricultural. And we also talked about trials that we talked about earlier at the West meeting, okay? And that our district manager here is going to take this bull by the horns, and he's going to give it to engineers, and he's going to give it to the people, whatever you've got to do with this, and try to determine a remedy. It's been going on and on and on. Now, we just had that talk at the previous meeting, but I want to clarify that if there's anybody else in the audience, that this is going to be moved on. It's just taking way too long. It was a trial that was supposed to start 2-3 months ago, okay? So he's going to give, Chuck is going to give us a readout at the next meeting as to what's taking place in the interim. And hopefully we can have that representative you talked about, Mike.
Yeah, I think it probably would be appropriate for either Chuck or Michael to reach out to Dr. Ali, and he's with the University of Florida. I'm assuming he's still there, but he's, I think, at least based on his credentials, we saw the leading expert that we could locate in Florida on this, and my suggestion was have him review the protocols that you're currently using, as well as the situation, and see is there anything we can do to enhance that midge control beyond what we're doing now.
Okay, we have a meeting scheduled, November, 14th, something like that? Whatever it is, the next meeting. First of all, can you put that report up on the websites, please, that you got, number one. Number two, can we discuss this at the joint meeting? Because we had Clark here, and they were here for the Point Siena CDD meeting, and there was nobody here for the midge issue, whether that was a confusion. I don't want to be perfectly clear that we'll have Clark here also, but for the joint meeting, if the professor can make it down for the joint meeting, we'll discuss it then, okay? So we'll have Clark here, the professor here.
And I would appreciate Chuck emailing each of the board members as to how this is proceeding, so we're fully prepared for the next meeting. Okay?
And if I could have a leeway to just discuss it with now that we have a room full of people with the matter. We're doing a couple of things moving forward. One is we got board direction this morning to adjust the existing landscape contract. As you'll see when you read through much of the information on midges, one of the big issues that you can do is reduce the amount of pollutant loading, nutrient loading going to the respective lake. In that light, we'll change the existing contract to go from 4 fertilizer cycles to 2 fertilizer cycles a year. See how that works. It's going to take a while to see that result and make sure that it doesn't have a big negative impact on the sod. If we see that we're going in the right direction, we'll probably adjust that with time, maybe go down to 1. Second thing is that we have got direction from the board on trying an aerator system. Mike, if you could discuss where you are on that process.
Yes, we have received a proposal from Clark to install one aerator system at pond E3, which is, I believe, the pond the resident was just speaking to. And we can bring that as a actionable item to the next meeting. I can tell you that the proposal for just the aeration system, not counting the electric, came in at $17,000. And electric's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,500 to $3,000, depending on exactly where it's got to come from. We do have to set a meter so that meter can be read and cost can be applied to it. So when you're considering these systems, you're somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000. Obviously, E3 is a reasonable size, like it's probably slightly on the larger side, and it's also got lots of bends, so it should be on the highest end, but you might have one or two that end up being a little bit more expensive depending on the situation.
Okay. Do we have to wait until next month for that to be done, or is it something that's going to be done as soon as it can?
The election?
Yeah.
We can take an actionable item with a not to exceed.
Which district is this located in Poinciana? The Poinciana board can approve a not to exceed of, let's just say, $22,000 to do the electric and the aeration system. And you can get that approval and then just pull the trigger whenever everything is set up. And I don't know if there's any permitting requirements that you're gonna have to deal with there. But the board can go ahead and approve it today if in fact you guys want to make sure that you remove any impediment from you having a future meeting.
Okay, is this an aeration or is it a fountain?
This is aeration, it's bubblers
Bubblers.
inside the lake, no fountain.
How much of the lake is it going to cover?
It's intended to cover the entire lake. So you'll have bubblers, there's about, I didn't count how many, but it's about a dozen or so, actually.
A dozen for the entire lake?
Yeah, that lake is huge.
I know it is. And I find that sort of, that was too little. Okay, I don't know too much about it, but that's going to cover it.
And that's based on the proposed system from Clark, the manufacturer and provider is the one that was going to do that.
We're going to see instant results?
No, you will not see instant results. It has to have time to, effectively what it's doing is increasing the oxygen content.
I understand.
So I think we've been through this discussion from what I accumulated from everybody, but that does take time, and it's also not guaranteed. The studies are showing that it's working, but it's not guaranteed because the mid product could.
What's in